The world was still celebrating Jelly Roll's rise to superstardom when shocking rumors began to swirl. Whispers of a small plane crash, heartbreaking and mysterious, sent his fans into a frenzy. No one could say for sure what had happened or who was involved. But one thing was clear, something had changed forever in the world of country music. Behind the headlines was a deeper, tragic story. A story of loss, heartbreak, and the quiet struggles Jelly Roll never shared on stage. And as rumors spread faster than facts, one question kept everyone hooked. What really happened that night? As new details began to emerge, fans and loved ones searched for answers. And they wouldn't stop until they found the truth. This is the heartbreaking tragedy surrounding Jelly Roll, and what you need to know. The story of Jelly Roll begins like something out of a movie. Raw, real, and full of mysterious twists that nobody saw coming. Rumors started swirling on social media after someone claimed they'd heard about a small plane going down near his hometown. Could this heartbreaking tragedy really involve Jelly Roll? Nobody could quite confirm it, and that was just the beginning of a roller coaster that would change everything. Fans felt a chill. Was their favorite singer safe? The internet exploded with speculation. But before the crash rumors took center stage, Jelly Roll was on top of the world. This is a guy who clawed his way up from the darkest corners of his past, someone who fought his demons tooth and nail, earning his way into America's heart, one heartfelt song at a time. Imagine going from addiction and jail time to award-winning music, from standing on street corners to hearing your songs on the radio. That's Jelly Roll's story, triumph after triumph. But something happened in those days before the rumored accident that nobody can quite explain. A last Instagram post that disappeared within hours. A cryptic message to his fans. And eyewitnesses saying they saw him boarding that small plane late at night. Was he running towards something? Even as the rumors churned, his team refused to speak. They stayed silent, maybe too silent. Could they have been protecting him? Or were they just as much in the dark as we were? What exactly happened in the days leading up to this tragedy? And what part does that mysterious plane play in this heartbreaking puzzle? Before we answer that, there's one moment at the heart of Jelly Roll's past that might explain everything. A part of his story most people never heard, and it's something that will leave you speechless. Jelly Roll didn't become a star overnight. Long before the flashing lights, sold-out venues, and screaming crowds, he was someone fighting an inner war most people could never survive. Raised in a neighborhood where pain was part of the landscape and trouble was only a street corner away, young Jason, Jelly Roll's real name, was forced to grow up faster than most. Early mistakes followed him like a shadow. Trouble with the law, time behind bars, dreams crushed under the weight of his past. Every time he tried to rise above it, something pulled him back into the dark. But there was one heartbreaking secret from this time that shaped him forever, one that very few people have ever heard. It was a loss so deep it almost broke him completely. Even years later, that grief kept knocking at his door. Every song he wrote carried a little piece of that sadness. And what's even more shocking, rumors say that this personal tragedy is tied to the same location where the mysterious plane was last seen before it disappeared. Could that small, tragic moment decades ago have somehow predicted what was going to happen all these years later? And who was with him back then? The answers may surprise you, especially once you hear about the handwritten lyrics found in a battered notebook after the incident. Lyrics that seem to speak directly to what was going to happen. Were they a cry for help, or some kind of eerie prophecy? But there's one more chapter in this past that nobody has dared to speak about, one that changes how we see him forever. And just wait until you hear what a close friend revealed about his final days. When everyone thought they knew Jelly Roll's story, one close friend decided it was time to tell the truth. Late one night, they sat down and hit record, and what they shared will give you goosebumps. They spoke about the singer's final days before the rumored accident, and how things weren't as perfect as they seemed. Despite his fame and success, Jelly Roll was haunted by something so deep that it kept him up at night. You'd never guess that this larger-than-life performer who could fill arenas was privately wrestling with fears most of us will never face. According to this friend, Jelly Roll was becoming more reclusive in those final weeks. He canceled shows last minute, left long voice notes full of raw emotion, and even booked that small plane for a secret trip nobody could quite understand. The friend hinted that Jelly Roll was looking for some kind of closure, chasing ghosts from his past that wouldn't leave him alone. But what exactly was he looking for? And why did he believe that going back to his roots would give him the answers? What really happened up there in the skies that nobody is telling us? This is where the trail turns cold, where fact and rumor collide. Every answer just raises new questions. Fans couldn't help but wonder if there was someone who didn't want him to come home, Someone who might have known more than they let on. Maybe it was someone close. Someone who had watched him struggle long before the world ever knew his name. The answers will make your heart race, and they're all locked up in one forgotten phone call that nobody could explain. Let's dive into that next. There's a recording most people haven't heard, a grainy clip that surfaced on a fan forum just hours after the crash rumors began. In the video, Jelly Roll looks tired but determined, whispering into the camera as if someone might overhear. His words, haunting. "If something happens to me, don't believe everything they say," he warned. "The truth is deeper than you know." Right then, the feed cuts to black. Who was he talking to? What did he mean by deeper? And most chilling of all, what was about to happen to him that made him record this in the first place? This clip vanished almost as fast as it appeared, scrubbed from every platform as if someone wanted it buried forever. Except a few lucky people had already saved it. Online sleuths dissected every frame, looking for clues. A shadow in the background, a strange sound right before. The clip ended, even a faint beeping that some thought was an aircraft dashboard. Was this Jelly Roll's way of leaving a breadcrumb trail? Or was he trying to protect someone? Rumors of a secret meeting? A debt owed to people you don't say no to, and an eerie coincidence of flight numbers started flying around. Could these have been threats? Maybe even warnings? Whatever the case, whoever was on the other end of that camera was important enough that Jelly Roll was scared. Scared enough to risk going public. But what nobody knows is what happened just hours after that clip. That's where the real twist lies, because what his family discovered when they checked his last phone call log will make you question everything you thought you knew. That final phone call lasted only 42 seconds, but it was enough to set off an avalanche of questions and fears that nobody has been able to silence. Records show Jelly Roll spoke to a mysterious number nobody could trace. Investigators spent hours combing through every call log, yet the identity of that number remained a ghost. Was it a loved one? An enemy? Or someone who had been pulling the strings for years without anyone knowing? That call happened just before he vanished off the radar, and that timing can't be a coincidence. Even more bizarre, witnesses at the tiny, isolated airstrip where the plane took off recall seeing someone in a dark jacket lingering by the runway. This was someone who clearly didn't belong, someone who wasn't part of the crew or the few regulars who worked there. Could that have been the person Jelly Roll was so desperate to reach? Or someone he was trying to hide from? Every single answer feels like it's just one breath away, yet somehow stays forever out of reach. And what if that phone call was actually him trying to get help? Maybe he was calling someone to come and stop him from boarding that plane. Or what if he was attempting to send one last message before everything went dark? The possibilities seem to multiply every time someone looks at the case. And then there's the strange fact that nobody can find the flight plan that was supposed to exist for that trip. Every plane must file a plan. So why was this one blank? It's as if someone went to great lengths to make sure that trip was never officially recorded. That missing paperwork has sparked dozens of conspiracy theories. Some people believe someone inside the airport pulled it. Others wonder if someone forced Jelly Roll to leave without a trace. Whatever happened that day, it's like every record was scrubbed clean. And that's not even the most shocking part. Just wait until you hear what was left behind at the crash site. A personal item so heartbreaking that even the most seasoned investigators couldn't hold back their tears. It wasn't some ordinary luggage or a phone or wallet. It was something small but powerful. Something that told a deeper story about who Jelly Roll was and who he was trying to become. Every detail of this crash feels more tangled and emotional than the last, and until someone dares to put all the pieces together, we may never truly know what happened in those final moments. When rescue teams finally reached the crash site, or what they thought was the crash site, what they found was a scene frozen in time. The landscape was eerily quiet, as if even the forest held its breath. Debris was scattered across jagged rocks and patches of charred earth. Personal items were strewn everywhere, like torn suitcases, clothes tangled in branches, a hat caught in the underbrush, like evidence of a story abruptly cut short. Amidst all this was one battered guitar case with Jelly Roll's initials stitched into the leather, half buried in a tangle of weeds and mud. But the most heartbreaking part was what was inside the guitar case. A notebook filled with unfinished lyrics, personal notes, and tiny sketches that told a story nobody had seen before. Songs about lost friends, pages dedicated to his struggle to stay sober, and even one trembling line that read, "If I don't make it back, at least they'll know I tried." The fragile pages felt like an open wound, his fears, hopes, and memories all bleeding together into ink. It was as if he had sensed that this trip might be his last, and had left a trail of his soul on those pages. Fans wept as leaked photos of the notebook hit social media. Some called it a sign, some called it a goodbye. One song fragment was scrawled in shaky handwriting, repeating the words, "Carry me home." Another entry included a list of names that nobody could quite decipher, but one particular note, written only days before the crash, was so cryptic that even his closest circle had no idea what he meant. It read in jagged letters across an entire page. What could he have been warning us about? The strange phrase set off a new wave of speculation. Was this simply a poetic fragment or something more ominous? Could it mean that someone was waiting for them in the skies? As the world searched for answers, conspiracy theories began to multiply. Online forums wondered aloud, was this an accident at all? Could something or someone have caused the plane to go down? Just when everyone thought they had the pieces figured out, a shocking eyewitness account surfaced. Someone who claims to have seen Jelly Roll alive after the crash, stumbling through the trees as if in a daze. And that's where the trail goes cold. Who was this mysterious witness? And why hadn't they come forward sooner? What really happened in those final moments? And what did Jelly Roll mean when he wrote, "Don't look up"? The more questions were raised, the deeper this heartbreaking mystery became. And as time went on, fans and investigators alike kept searching for the answers hidden between those unfinished lines. Her hands were trembling as she told her story to a local reporter. A story so bizarre that nobody took it seriously at first. A woman who lived near the hills where the plane disappeared swore she saw someone stumbling through the forest that very night. They matched Jelly Roll's build, wore a torn jacket, and looked scared out of their mind. Could he have survived the crash? According to the witness, she called out into the trees, but whoever it was kept moving, fading into the dark like a ghost. If her account was true, then why was there no immediate search party looking for him? Why did the official report close so quickly, like they had decided the ending before all the facts were in? That single fleeting sighting opened up a floodgate of questions, so many that they couldn't all fit into one neat headline. Conspiracy theories exploded overnight. Was he being hunted? Was someone covering their tracks? And most eerie of all, why would Jelly Roll run away into the forest instead of waiting for help? What could have scared him so badly that he would choose the dark woods over rescue? Was someone already after him before that plane ever took off? Every detail unraveled into another knot, and those knots kept tightening around a single idea. Nothing was as simple as it seemed. The answers were hidden in a set of hotel receipts dated the very morning of the crash. Receipts that showed he met someone mysterious for breakfast. Why did they pay in cash? Investigators dug into his last known whereabouts and uncovered even more troubling questions. That morning, his phone had been buzzing with messages that were later deleted. Surveillance footage outside the hotel showed a car waiting for him, its license plate obscured by grime. The more people dug, the darker it became. But that wasn't even the most shocking part. What truly set everyone on edge was something hidden in plain sight. A photograph taken by a tourist that morning. It looked like an innocent snapshot of a downtown street. Yet if you zoomed in close enough, you could just make out Jelly Roll's face in the background. Next to him was someone nobody had accounted for. Someone who didn't appear on any official list of passengers or crew. That tiny face in the crowd set off a frenzy of online speculation. Armchair sleuths spent days combing through grainy footage and every public record they could find. The story had taken on a life of its own, spiraling into a mystery that nobody was prepared for. Every clue that came to light only created more questions. Who was that stranger? What did they want with Jelly Roll? And most puzzling of all, why had they disappeared just as quickly as they appeared? In the end, the only thing everyone could agree on was this. Nothing about that night, that plane, or that forest was going to make sense without the missing pieces that someone, somewhere, was determined to hide forever. Buried deep inside his song lyrics was a puzzle nobody had noticed until after the crash. A coded message that ran like a thread through every album, every third word in the chorus, every odd-numbered track title, every strange date tucked into his liner notes spelled out a message. It took someone with an obsessive eye to see it. Someone who had spent countless nights poring over his music long after the radio had moved on. Once this superfan finally cracked the code, they were left with one final chilling sentence. Who was he warning us about? And why hide it all so carefully unless he thought someone dangerous was listening? That discovery set the internet on fire. Every platform, from TikTok to Reddit, was overwhelmed by new theories. People had goosebumps just reading about it. Maybe the crash was staged. Maybe he had faked his own death as a way to escape something too terrifying to put into words. Maybe someone had forced him into disappearing. Every new theory painted a darker picture. One where Jelly Roll wasn't just a musician with a poetic soul, but someone tangled in a web so much larger than fame or fortune. What could have scared him so badly that he felt he had to hide these clues for his most loyal followers to find? And just as this story reached its boiling point, someone leaked a blurry photo that was said to have been taken last week. It showed a figure in a hoodie with their face mostly hidden, standing near a recording studio. Could it have been him? Could Jelly Roll still be out there, alive, in hiding, secretly watching all of this unfold? Comment sections went wild with debate. Some people thought the photo was fake, just someone dressed to look like him. Others pointed out the distinctive tattoo on his left wrist that was barely visible in the grainy shot. A few brave fans even claimed they recognized the background of the photo as the back entrance to a famous Nashville studio. And the questions wouldn't stop coming. What if that was him? What if he was seeing all of this from the shadows? Was he leaving us more puzzles on purpose? Or was someone pulling the strings and forcing him to stay hidden? Could this all be part of a larger plan that none of us could fully understand yet? Even his closest friends hadn't been heard from, and they weren't talking. That one image left everyone with goosebumps and one urgent question burning in their minds. If he survived, where is he now? And what is he planning? Every heartbreaking tragedy has its fair share of myths, but what if this one is true? Some people now believe Jelly Roll orchestrated the whole thing, a dramatic vanishing act to escape something too dangerous to face head-on. But what could possibly scare a man like him into leaving everything behind? His family, his career, his fans, and the very life that he fought so hard to build. That's where the most troubling theory takes shape. According to whispers from inside the industry, he uncovered a secret so powerful that it put a target on his back. Contracts with hidden clauses, people who control the charts, and dangerous players who don't take kindly to being exposed. It sounds like a movie script, right? Except one veteran songwriter hinted there might be more truth to it than anyone could imagine. Every piece of this puzzle suggests Jelly Roll was trapped between two worlds, one bright and hopeful, the other steeped in shadow, full of powerful figures who were willing to do whatever it took to keep him silent. And that's not even the most unnerving part. Rumors swirling backstage paint a chilling picture. Late-night phone calls that left him shaken, sudden changes in his schedule with no public explanation, and cryptic remarks to his closest friends about getting out before it's too late. It was as if Jelly Roll sensed the walls closing in and knew his time was running out. Even the people who loved him most began to worry, sensing that something deeper and darker was going on. But there was one final clue, buried in an old interview nobody thought mattered at the time. When asked about his biggest fear, Jelly Roll paused, looked away, and simply said 4 words that now feel like a ghostly warning. Never stop running. Running from what? That question still haunts everyone who's followed his story. Could he have been sending a subtle message all along? One last attempt to warn the world without putting himself or his loved ones in even greater danger? The answer feels so close yet forever out of reach. And just when you thought this couldn't get any stranger, someone who knew him personally came forward with an envelope containing what they call the last message. Insiders describe this message as shocking, heartbreaking, and full of hints that seem to confirm all the dark rumors. According to those who have seen it, it paints a portrait of a man who was tired of looking over his shoulder, tired of smiling through the pain, and most of all, tired of living a lie. Whether this message will ever see the light of day is still unclear, but one thing is certain. Until someone unravels this secret once and for all, the legend of Jelly Roll will remain as mysterious and chilling as his final words. Never stop running. When they opened that sealed envelope, hands trembling as if they could already sense what was inside, what they found was a heartfelt letter, one that read like a goodbye and a confession all at once. Jelly Roll wrote about mistakes, about battles nobody knew he fought, about feeling watched every time he walked out the door. The words weren't hurried, they weren't sloppy. Every sentence was carefully chosen, like he had agonized over how to say what he had been holding inside for years. He wrote about nights spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd ever be truly free. About people who smiled to his face but whispered behind his back. About knowing that some part of him would never fit into this world, that his soul was forever restless,